Good morning, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope everybody is having an awesome start to their day. Also, hopefully, you're closing out a week where you've gotten some things done. You are progressively moving towards goals that you set for yourself, goals that are representative of how you define success for your life. And the thing I want to encourage everyone here today is to make sure that you're operating based on the definition of success you have for yourself. Far too many people are trying to live lives based on how someone else has defined success, in general or for them specifically. And that often leads you away from your design, away from your purpose, away from what you were meant to do, the thing you are internally passionate about. And you have to be careful about that. I tell people all the time, success for me is not defined by the number of zeros in my bank account. While there are goals to address those numbers, that alone has never meant success for me because I've experienced the fluctuation of those numbers, and I've experienced the lack of fulfillment when those numbers were very high. And I've experienced enormous fulfillment when those numbers were reasonably low or relatively low. And so I define success as simply as I possibly can, and that is that I'm moving progressively towards something I'm passionate about, something that's worthy of my attention. Um, I was successful in pursuing my wife because that was a worthy and worthwhile goal for me. And it didn't happen overnight. It was a progression, but there was an initial intent, and I fulfilled the intent. And now there's a goal to be everything that my wife needs. And that is a progressive pursuit. There was a pursuit to start a company that will help people change their lives. It wasn't equated to any dollar amount. It was equated to helping people. For instance, my biggest goal this year has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with touching 1 million lives. I have come to a point to understand that the zeros in the account will start to line up with the work you're doing if you're investing in helping. It doesn't always show up when you want it. It doesn't show up how you want it or where you want it. But at the end of the day, you put in the work, you get the results. You put in the work. And I'm watching this unfold beautifully for my wife as she has worked diligently to build her real estate business. And I've watched her put in the work, and I've watched her at times be frustrated because the results didn't see. I say, hey, you planted the seed, just water it, keep working, plant another seed, keep working, and water it, trust it and water it. The process is taking place. The seed is simply gestating. When you want something big and you plant a seed, you don't get an immediate response, or you don't get immediate gratification. If you look at any seed you plant, now you plant a little flower, you'll get something pretty quickly. But if you plant an acorn and you're looking for an oak tree, it's going to take a little time. But here's the thing: when the oak tree comes, it's there for centuries. See what I'm saying? The flower will bud and then it will die. You're looking to plant seeds that have longevity, that brings fruition down the line. You're looking to build for someone other than yourself. And so it's going to be a slow process. It's not the fastest, it's the steadiest, it's the most consistent. Find your definition of success and then work diligently to be the best you can be so that you can be the best and most productive you can be, and everything else will take care of itself. Just wanted to get that out there. Now I'm going to address a contentious topic because people become defensive when certain things come on the table. They feel like they're being attacked, they're being assaulted. And I'm asked this question quite often when people come to me and they want to sign up to work with me, or if people happen to come across me when I'm speaking or in some environment and they ask me, okay, You know, you talk a lot about entrepreneurs and you talk a lot about employees, and it seems like you are taking shots at employees. And the truth of the matter is, no, I'm not. I've had a job, more than one. It's not that I have a problem with an employee. I have a problem with a person with an employee mindset. Why? Because no other person in this world is going to serve your purpose like you. No person in this world is going to look at you, see your gifts, see your skill set, see your ability to impact the world and say, you know what? Don't come do it for me. I'm going to help you do it. There may be one or two people that'll see it and just feel like the world needs it and they'll get behind you. But as a general rule, the only person that's going to be 100% behind you being who you were designed to be is you. And if you are giving yourself to someone else, there's an old saying that if you're not working and investing to fulfill your dreams, you're working and investing to help someone else fulfill theirs. And there is no need to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To feel insulted by the fact or feel less about the fact of being employed. That's not what I'm talking about. Because let me share something with you that'll kind of bring the framing for where I'm going with this. I know entrepreneurs who have employee mindsets. I know employees who have entrepreneur mindsets. I will take the employee with the entrepreneur mindset before I will take the entrepreneur with the employee mindset. See, the distinction between an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, and an employee is mindset. An entrepreneur is aware of who they are. They're aware of their worth. They're aware of what they're giving. They understand their purpose on this earth. And even when they're in a position as an employee, it is working them towards what they know they were designed to do. It's not, there's no dishonor in doing that. But here's the thing. People say, well, you know, you won't accept the job. Actually, I would, but I will accept the job based on understanding my value. And so there aren't many people that would hire me as an employee. They will contract me as a contractor. They will contract me as a consultant, but they will never contract me as an employee because I understand my value, and they will have to meet that. Here's the thing that most people don't understand, and one of the primary reasons behind my thinking on that is you got to understand that your 96% of your behavior is governed by your subconscious, which runs on a program of information and data that is fed to it at specific times when it's most vulnerable to being reprogrammed or downloading information. As a kid from birth to age 6 or 7, that's all they're doing is downloading information that's going to help them navigate life. Their belief systems, the norms and standards which create their conscious and tell them what's acceptable and not acceptable, what's good and not good. All of these things are done up until roughly around age 6 or 7. Then it becomes what we would say hardwired or a deeply embedded program. That's how they live their life. 96% of their life is going to be dependent upon what they downloaded, how they approach life, what they go after in their careers, what's acceptable to them, what's not acceptable to them, whether they're going to try drugs or not, whether they're going to pursue something creative or they're going to fall in line with the status quo. All of this is going to be that. Now, what we know is the subconscious is vulnerable to suggestion or hypnosis or re-downloading or reprogramming. So you can at night, it used to believe that once you hit that 6 or 7 year old mark, you were done. That's who you were. You were setting your personality. You were setting what you were going to do and how you were going to do it and be. Now we know that there's this thing called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity says that I can rewire the neural receptors in my mind. I can create new ideas. I can create new possibilities. I can create new ways of thinking. And the more I entertain those new thoughts, new ideas, the stronger it gets into my programming. And the more it will undo contrary ideas or ideas that are opposite to it. So I can literally get rid of a bad belief or a bad idea or a bad concept by replacing it with a good one. And then engaging it. Now, the way those things happen is it's a number of different ways. But let me explain to you this whole thing and how it works. When you accept a job, you have an idea of what you're worth. Okay, let's say desperation makes you accept a job that pays you far less than what you're worth. Here's the problem. Your subconscious reads that whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you say, man, I'm accepting less, your subconscious says, okay, this is what we're worth because this is what we're working for. It's the same thing. You can go into a community where the houses are worth $500,000. All it takes is one person to sell their house significantly low, and it drops the value of every other house. Not just that house, but the other house. You can only, in other words, what you're accepting is what you're saying you're really worth. You can't say I'm worth more and accept less. Let me give it to you in a way that people can understand it, because see, that's this idea, because I have to have the job, I have to accept less. Here's the problem with that. Would you tell a woman who says that she knows her value and that she knows her worth, and she's in a relationship where she's getting less, maybe even being abused verbally, emotionally, physically, he's cheating on her, whatever, would you tell her, well, you need a husband, so stay with the husband, and you're not getting what you want? No, the moment that your value is determined by what you accept. Your value is determined by what you accept. Now, my thing is, when you look at this, the reason that I talk about the employee entrepreneurial thing, like I said, first of all, it has nothing to do with what you do or where you do it. It's not whether or not you work for somebody or you work for yourself. Because like I said, I've known a bunch of people who are entrepreneurs who have employee mindsets. And I know some employees who are extremely entrepreneurial in their thinking. And they're going to end up at someplace different based on their thinking. Their thinking is going to control their destiny. Your thoughts are the genesis of your destiny. It's that simple. So where they are now isn't as important as where they're going. And so that's the thing that you need to get. But here's the thing. When you are in a world in which 85% of the people in this country wake up every morning, or in some cases at night, and they get dressed and go to a job they absolutely hate. I'm not talking about people that get up and are excited about work. And, that's a different thing. Most people, if you're excited about your job, there's something in your job that allows you to be you. There's something in your job that opens up the possibilities of you touching and doing what you do, and they're creating that opportunity for you. That's a totally different thing. If you got a job doing what you do, that would be the time that you could sit up and actually say, okay, they're only paying me in currency this amount, but they're allowing me to actually have access to the things I want to do, and it's not on my dime. I can count that as compensation as well. Now I'm starting to reach my value. They are taking care of me and allowing me to reach my value, even though it's not all in currency. Remember, it's not all about money in the first place. But they are opening the door and creating the opportunities for me to get out and do what I love doing. So I'm up in the morning, I'm showered, I'm dressed, I'm out the door, and I'm skipping the work because I'm excited about it. I'm not talking about that 15% of whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for somebody else. I'm talking about the 85% of people who wake up and go to work every day to a job they hate, working with people they can't stand. And they're not realizing the massive emotional, psychological, and physical toll it's having on them. It shortens life, spiritually and physically. It reduces the quality of life. I'm not talking about, oh, it's just in my head. I'm talking about when you wake up and you think about the time you're spending at a job. The average person is working 40 hours a week. Many more, some less. But you're working 40 hours a week, and in a world where you've got to put in a minimum of 40 just to get by, you're probably putting in way more than that on a place that you literally are sitting up and dreading going. So from the moment you wake up in the morning, you're stressed. From the moment you wake up in the morning, you're literally sitting up and you're dreading going. You got cortisol in your bloodstream now. You got adrenaline pumping in your bloodstream. That's meant for short-term stress management. short-term stress and fear response uh, situations. It's not meant to be your state throughout the day. It's destroying you. Your organs are suffering, including your brain, your heart, your liver, your kidneys. They're suffering. You are also going through an epigenetic process where you are probably activating disease genes. See, everybody has these genes. The thing is, like, say for a disease like cancer, cancer generally requires a minimum of 13 to 14 specific genes to be turned on for a specific type of cancer, for cancer to be possible. It just doesn't pop up. There has to be these influences that, some of the influences are the presence of carcinogens, um, poor nutritional diet. But here's the other one: high stress levels, constant stress, fear, worry, anxiety, hostile environments. Those are massive influences of epigenetic uh, manipulation. In other words, epigenetics talks about epigenetic tags, but it also talks about the gene expression, whether a gene is turned on or turned off and expresses itself. When it requires 13 or 14 genes, then you've got these influencers turning genes on. So now your risk of heart disease, your risk of cancer, your risk of organ failure, so many other things, diabetes, is directly associated with how you're feeling when you go to work every day. You're thinking about, I need to pay my bills, but what happens when you're no longer alive to pay the bills? And for those of you who have a belief in God, you cannot tell me that it's God's will for you. If you don't, this is not for you. This is for the people who believe in some way or another in God. You cannot believe that God has a desire for you to totally destroy yourself emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and physically, being somewhere you're not received, you're not accepted, your gift is not being used, and that's God's will. No, that's something you've put in your mind you got to do. Where your design leads you, where your design and purpose leads you, there's a way. Now there's this bridge that goes over all of the uncertainties of going where you know you need to be, and it requires faith. Now, this is required whether you believe in God or not. You're going to have to believe that what's on the other side is worth what is going on and what you're going to have to invest in it. Again, this isn't about who you work for or if you work for yourself. This is about a mindset that you have a purpose here on this earth and that you're going to spend your life fulfilling that purpose. And by fulfilling that purpose, it's going to help you manage your life. There is a scripture that says a workman is worthy of his wages. There's another scripture that says if a man preaches the gospel, he should earn his living by the gospel. It's one that says, do not muzzle an ox when he is treading the field. All speaks to the right of reaping reward and benefit for the work you're putting in that benefits others. There's no shame in earning a wage for what you're doing. And matter of fact, your wages should be directly commensurate or in correspondence to the level of impact you're having. So if you're not satisfied with what you're making, you need to look more at what you're giving than who you're working for, or if you're working for yourself. And you have to be willing to stay in the game. You have to be willing to fight. There's no easy road to anything worth having. I say this over and over again. Most people give up because they encounter challenges, they encounter changes, they encounter difficult moments, they experience the vicissitudes of life. All of these things are guaranteed. And here's the thing: even when you study the behaviors of people, when you study the processes of life, and you look at people, what you find are people who shrunk back to what they believe to be a corner of comfort and safety. And what you find is they still experienced what the people who decided to take the risk experience. They just experience it without the fulfillment of taking the leap. Being in this corner is not going to stop you from experiencing loss. Being in this corner is not going to stop you from experiencing setbacks. Being in this corner is not going to stop you from experiencing heartache, disappointment, loss, and all of the other things that is just simply a part of life. It simply gives you a false sense of security where you have very little control of your own destiny, and you're hoping that nobody ever cuts you off, because if they do, you don't know what to do because you've never taken the reins of your own life. So it's not about who you work for or whether you're working for yourself. It's about a mindset that says, I'm going to fulfill my destiny. It's about a mindset that says there's something I have to give. Again, the people who wake up and go to work every day, skipping and hopping and jumping and excited about being there, this isn't for you. You have something that this world is giving you through your employer. That's a great thing. Very few people, based on the studies, are experiencing that. Enjoy it, embrace it, but always be aware of the opportunities and the time when it's going to come for you to do what you need to do. Now, I've seen that before. I've seen people work for an employer for 5, 10, even 15 years. And then they decide, you know what, it's time for me to step out and branch on my own. And that's got to be scary. Why? Because you've worked your way up in this company. You've accomplished some things. You've established yourself. You got an employer you love, an employer that loves you, and everything's grand. But now you're saying, okay, there's a bigger vision, and there's something I got to do that I can't do here, and I need to step out. I've literally seen the employer say, I've got you. I will literally back you. I will finance you. I will get behind you. If not that, I'm going to contact some people that I know that can do this with you or do it for you or help you or whatever it is. But you've got to know who you are. You got to have that. Now, here's the 85 that I'm concerned about, the 85%. The 85% are waking up every day and literally dying a slow death. The way that Les Brown put it is they're committing spiritual suicide. And I'm not telling you to go out and quit your job. I'm telling you to sit up and take inventory. I'm telling you to sit up and conduct an examination of your life and your situation, and understand where you are and understand your value, and ask yourself, are you getting the value that you see in your life out of the situation that you're in? And if you're not, there is only one conclusion, and you got to figure that out. Here's the bigger thing. Here's another number that just popped into my head. Do you realize what day and time most people have their first heart attack? Monday mornings between the hours of 5 a.m. and 12. I may be off on the numbers a little bit, and I haven't seen the latest studies, but I remember when that study came across my desk, and it's like Monday morning, most first heart attacks come Monday morning between 5 a.m. and 12 p.m. So 5 a.m. to noon. Do you know, can you take a guess of why? It's that point in the week, the highest stress point for people who are on jobs they can't stand. Why? Because I'm going into a place I can't stand. And this is the day that I have the most consecutive days that I've got to do this. See, Tuesday is a little bit easier than Monday because it's only 4 days left. Wednesday is hump day. Thursday is, man, I'm almost there. Friday is probably your best day because you see the weekend, but it's still a little stressing. You know why Friday's still a little stressing? Because there's only 2 days between Friday and Monday. So here you go. You're back here. You're looking at it Monday morning, and it is the day that many people are so stressed that they are literally pushing themselves over the edge. Now, granted, to get to a point to where you're having a heart attack, that's a lot of stress. Now, remember, it's not just bad eating. It's not just a sedentary lifestyle. Those definitely contribute to heart disease and heart trouble. But a lot of the stressing that you've been doing year after year after year, going to a place that you can find no fulfillment in, is caught up to you. And that's just the highest stress moment that pushes. It's got all of the components lined up to cause this heart attack. And this is something that we have to be aware of. So people ask me, what's the distinction? It's not that you're working for someone that's going to say to me, I'm not looking at a person's position. First of all, something that I've learned, and something I don't like people to do with me, but I don't get upset about it. People are who they are. And I definitely don't do it to myself, so I don't do it to anyone else. And that is, I don't judge people by their situations or their conditions. I don't say, okay, you're working for this person. you shame on you, you're an employee. No, I say, I don't know your story. I know where you're at. Let's talk. And then by the talk, I can tell if they're entrepreneur minded or if they are employee minded or somewhere in between. And the position and the condition doesn't always define it. Like I said, I know people who own their own businesses and are as employee minded as they can be, and they struggle from day one. They always have problems because they're thinking like an employee, and there's no boss to pull them into place and give them what they need to do, line them up, and give them accountability. When you're accountable to yourself, you better have an entrepreneurial mindset. You better have something that wakes you up every morning, that demands that you focus and give excellence commit to excellence in everything you do, that you want to deliver everything with a high quality. And you're going to have slip ups, you're going to have setbacks. Nobody's perfect, but you should have a mindset of delivering something that you can be proud of. And see, that's the difference between the person who's an employee and having an employee mindset and an employee with an entrepreneurial mindset. The employee with an entrepreneurial mindset is going to have a level of excellence even when they're working for someone else. It's going to stand out. It's going to separate them because they bought into the vision. They've almost taken the vision and owned it. You know, that's the one most people call at work the suck up, the kiss up, or whatever. But it's just that some people aren't sucking up, they aren't kissing up. They just have a standard at which they demand that they accomplish and do anything that they're going to do. That's the thing. If I can't be my best in doing something, I don't want to do it. And so that's why I can say that if I set up my mind to get something, I'm going to either get it or die trying. I'm never going to quit because I seriously consider what I take on, because I know once I'm committed to it, I'm going to either get it or I'm going to die trying. And I don't want a bunch of baggage on my carriage while I'm trying to move towards where I'm going, of stuff that I done taken on and I can't dump off because I just grabbed it out the wind, and now it's weighing me down and I can't get rid of it because I don't quit. I don't want to do that. So I take very strong consideration of the things that I am taking on because I know what it's going to require of me. So again, it's not about where you work that determines whether you're an employee, where you work or who you work for that determines whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. It's your mindset. How is what you're doing measuring your value or meeting your value? What are you doing that is fulfilling you in this? How much joy are you getting out of this? Those are the things that create the mindset. Because if I have a commitment to excellence, if I understand that there's a gift inside of me and that gift contributes heavily to my value, and now I know how to use that gift to help other people, I'm never going to be broke. Yeah, there's going to be cash flow problems sometimes, maybe, because depending on how you're doing things and what you have going on. But broke says, I have no resources. You are gifted and talented in your design. You are gifted by God. And that is a resource. Matter of fact, your greatest resource, said this yesterday, your greatest resource is your resourcefulness. Not what someone else can give you, not what you have set aside, but what you can come up with when it doesn't readily exist. That's your greatest resource. In other words, there'll never be a time that you have an enigma that there is not a solution or answer to. That's the thinking of the mind that changes when you move from being employee minded to entrepreneurial minded, not the positions, not the positions. There are a bunch of people in the workforce right now working for someone else who are entrepreneurs. They just simply haven't gotten to the stage to where it's being expressed outwardly, where you can see their name on something. But their whole mindset is built around it. So that's the distinction. It's the mindset. Remember, your thoughts, your mind, and what they produce by way of thoughts is the genesis of your destiny. You're living out the repercussions right now in circumstances, situations, and conditions of your thinking. You want to change your life, you change your thinking. You change your emotional and mental approach in how you perceive things, how you interpret things, and what you plan to and how you plan to respond to them. When you understand that you are equipped for every situation, whether you know it or not. Matter of fact, some of the things you're trying to circumvent, some of the things you're trying to get around and away from are the things that were meant to prepare you for another level, to prepare you for a new opportunity, to prepare you for something greater. You have to be willing to take on the challenges. You're built for it. No, it's not going to feel good. No, it's not going to be comfortable. This isn't about comfort. It isn't about feeling good. It's about character. It's about integrity. And you build character in adversity. With that being said, I'm going to jump off of here. I wanted to drop by and drop that on you. Again, for those who would like to work with me, there's some information in the description box. Those, if you haven't gotten Critical Mass, my 20th book, the first in a 6-book series on personal development, the link is in there. Whatever you do, you've got to start investing in you. You've got to start seeing the bigger picture. You got to start seeing where you're headed. You've got to start taking on the responsibility of being the best you. With that being said, look, I'm going to get out of here. There's so much I have to do. This is a work day for me. So I'm going to get to what I'm doing, and I'm going to wish you the best. You're probably going to see a little bit more of me later on in the day, but you've got to be the person who you were designed to be. You got to live life at the level of your design. With that being said, I am going to live my life on full. I am going to live my life on full, and so that when I leave this place, I die on E. I'm challenging every last one of you to do the same thing. And speaking of that, don't forget to check out some links I'm sharing on my page of new apparel by the Visionetics Institute. And the first release is Live Life on Full, and Downy is sweaty. I mean, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, caps. There's even a onesie, I think. So, you can get them started early, but we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to have a lot more designs coming out over the summer, but I just wanted to get that started. And like people say, why are you doing hoodies in summer? I wear hoodies year round because I keep the AC crunk anywhere I'm at. And that's just how I am. So get what you like and whatever, but definitely check it out. With that being said, I'm out of here. You guys have an awesome day.